Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to, first of all, thank my colleagues for all the hard work we've been through from recess up to now, looking at all the reports that came from various committees. I noticed that a lot of work has been done, which has put our thinking forward. And I believe that that should continue. Honorable Speaker, the table office has our questions lingering there, which we've sent to the ministries. These are very urgent questions, very important questions, because the electorate are concerned. So if the ministries are not proactive in answering our questions, bringing our answers back, the table office should take the bull by the horn and get back to these ministries so that we get these answers back, because they are very important. They should not be laying there, gathering dust. They are not meant for that. This is why this last time when we are asked to ask questions, I did not raise any question, because I know I raised a lot of questions and they are not answered. We don't raise questions just because we want to raise them. We raise them because we want answers, because those answers are very important for our people. Honorable Speaker, I want to join my colleague from Basse to thank the communities in the URR for what they have started. You mentioned the road that is built by the people in that area, and I want to also inform the House that you have several communities in Woolly that have decided to come together to solve some of their problems. Boro Kandakase bought an ambulance because the Boro cluster is 4 communities, and these are populated communities far removed from the health center in Bajakunda. And the other outlet is the river, and that road is very bad. So they've come together to buy this ambulance so that whoever gets sick in that cluster is helped to get to the health center at Bajakunda. Honorable Speaker, Makamasre, I've cried here several times. Ministers promised me that they will get there, but still now they have not seen anybody. Nothing is done about the security people that are there. The PIU are there, and they are carrying out very important security duty there. Because as I said, there was a time when somebody is killed because of an attack. We know there are several attacks. One in Yamanare, another one in Daslami in Sandu, another attack in Makamasre. Our people just caught a gunman roaming the district. He could have done anything. So our security situation is very serious, and we need help from the government to maintain security in that area. And as a result, the people of Makamasre decided to put their hands together to build a residence for the security personnel there, because they don't want them to leave. They are living in somebody's compound. That person, does not have space, but yet still they accommodate them there because they don't want them to leave. But since the government is not taking steps, the people themselves have come together to help the government to at least keep these people there. Honorable Speaker, Sutukoba has built a clinic for themselves. They put their hands together to build a clinic. I mentioned here that a pregnant woman just got up in the morning, and while she was cooking porridge, the time is due for her delivery. And they had to put her up on a saret, on a horse cart, to take her to a clinic, the Bajakunda Health Center. She got to Bajakunda, she is supposed to get to Basse. Before she gets to Basse at the riverside, she died there. So that information and that situation has compelled the community to come together and put their resources together so that they can build a clinic and put health personnel there so that whoever gets any problem can be rushed to that place and can be helped to get to Bajakunda Health Center so that for further help. And now they are looking for the necessary personnel that will be there. They have got some beds. They are furnishing the place. So all these things are being done by the community. So I thank the community or the communities in URL, emulating, of course, the Basse communities to help the government in trying to establish some of these very important structures for their own development. Honorable Speaker, my honorable friend has mentioned Sanyang. I was trying to put it to the minister, how serious the situation is in Sanyang, how environmentally serious. What millions that were spent there are all dried up. We've seen the heat, we've seen the steam, what the steam is causing to the community. We've seen the pollution that is coming from that factory because they don't have a treatment plant and they don't have a chimney so that the steam goes up. The chimney is very short, and as the machine is put, all the steam and the smoke gets to the community, which is causing a lot of pollution. And as we said, there is an ecotourism camp just beside. It's just 50 meters or 100 meters from the factory, and it's causing a lot of havoc to those people. Tourists are leaving. While we clamor for tourists to come, tourists are there, but they are leaving. They are not happy with the situation there. So, Honorable Speaker, we come to agriculture. Last year, we lamented about agriculture here. We all spoke about the difficulties. When the price of fertilizer was $700, we advised the government that this fertilizer must get to the doorsteps of the farmers. Otherwise, the price is no more $700. The price would be $1,000 plus. And we all accepted here. At the end of the day, the price was more than $1,000. Because middlemen would be the people going to buy the fertilizer from the regional headquarters, transport the fertilizer to wherever they want to sell it, and then, of course, they will have to put all their expenses together and then put their profit. That will not be $700 anymore. It will be $1,000. And we know the situation, the poverty in the country, the farmers are going through. If we say 700 and eventually it becomes 1,000, then we are no more better than the private person who is selling fertilizer to our people. That is another area we have to look at. Honorable Speaker, tests can be done here. Soil tests, chemical tests, and other tests, as reported by the Agriculture Committee. These are machines that we require. Either we have them or we buy them. As they say, just $1 million, you'll be able to acquire one. We already have it, but it's a matter of repairing. We cannot be going to other countries to do every test that we require. Government must proactively look into that situation and address it. And I am calling on the Agriculture Committee not to rest on their laurels, to make sure they make this follow-up and make sure that we get these machines, because we cannot be dependent on our neighbor for every little test that we require. Honorable Speaker, the health centers also is similar situation. You go to Fodekunda, you have a lab there. But all that you require is a lab technician to run the lab. There is nobody at the health center. All the women, pregnant women, after delivery and before delivery, had to be going to Basse or to go to Bajakunda on those very bad roads. So we need this lab technician at Fodekunda. And if you come to Banjo, the headquarters, the capital, how many people are asked to go to Dhaka, either for a test or for further treatment? We need to equip our capital city hospital. This is the only hospital we have. This one and Bansan, that's all, and Farafenni. But at least this is the hope of most Gambians. So if you get sick in Fodekunda or in Pasamas, your hope is Banjul. But you come through the health centers, you come to Bansan, they bring you here only to tell you to go to Dhaka or to go to India or to go to New York. How are you going to get that money? One old man told me, instead of going to Dhaka, I'm going back to Sudukoba to my deathbed. And when he got to Sudukoba, the following day he died. He passed away. He knew that when he does not have anything. If you tell him to go to Dhaka, what is he going to do there? He has no money. You are simply telling him, go to Dhaka. When you die there, then people have another load to take your dead body back to Sudukoba. Honorable Speaker, we must look at these issues. I said here before that I have reduced my ambition. I'm no more ambitious for this government. Before, I was very ambitious. I raised issues that I think would be addressed, but now I raise very simple questions. I want simple answers. But even that you go to our provinces. Last year, we are told by the Environment and Water Resources Ministry, we're going to dig this number of boreholes. We are almost 1.5 years now in this house. Not a single borehole is being dug in my constituency. And I say my people are living at the border. They are going into Senegal to seek for safe drinking water. Their animals are dying because of lack of water. They are driving their animals all the way to Nyamina for feeding during the dry season. They lose the money. They lose the milk. And they lose the health of their cattle. Honorable Speaker, this is not acceptable. Honorable Speaker, the Minister for Sports came here. And during the question time, he said that they have distributed sports gear and footballs to the regions. But during the question and answer time, he said they have given these gears and footballs to the governors. And the district committees, sports committees, are saying they have not received a single football, at least for Willie East. No sports gear, no footballs. I'm not saying it is not true, but I'm saying I'm recommending that the line ministry, the line organizations are the regional sports committees in Basse. And we have district sports committees. If you want to distribute gears, it's better to give it to the regional sports committee for onward transfer to the district committees. But if you give it to the governor, it does not reach the people. That's an information that I want the sports ministry to know. Honorable Speaker, let me come to prices of commodities, essential commodities. As the Honorable Member for Ilias has said, the reason why we have agreed with the Finance Minister to remove the duty on essential commodities is to have them prices reduced so that our poor people can afford these essential commodities for their consumption. But if that is done and the prices are still not reduced, in fact, in some instances, they are going up because every month I buy a bag of rice. And the price that I buy the bag of rice is the same price even after the reduction of the duty on that commodity. So I think, Honorable Speaker, if we want to reduce prices, we must look at what we have, the reduction we have done on duty, and link that to the wholesale price. And from the wholesale price, we should also consider the transport of the retailer who is buying from the wholesaler, and the labor cost, because they also spend money on labor to bring this, put it up and bring it down and pack it in their shops. So if all that is not considered, the prices will not come down. So we must make sure the percentage of reduction must be the same percentage of reduction at the wholesale level, so that the prices at least will be realized. Honorable Speaker, it is important that we look at this Gambian economy, it is clear to us from the question of raised by my honorable friend regarding salaries. Everything is clear to us that salaries cannot be increased. And as the Willie West NAM said, we are in a catch-22 situation. My own self, I said, we are in a debt trap. And that debt trap, we cannot come out of it without transparency. Everything that we do in governance must be transparent. Whatever we do, it has to go with transparency. That's the only way we can reduce corruption. And if corruption is not reduced, then we are going to remain in this situation. Honorable Speaker, we cannot be dependent on aid. It has not solved any country's problem. I have said this over and over. It is impossible for dependency on aid to have development while you are dependent on aid. We must reduce the aid that we take. Have initiative to be able to invest in the productive base to build our economy. Control corruption. Be transparent. Once we have done that, we begin to realize that the economy is developing. And using the resources that we have and the enterprises that we have, once we begin to use them, be able to save something from them, and use whatever we get from that and invest it into the productive base, we will be able to build the resources and we'll be able to increase the salaries and reduce the poverty of our people. That's the only way we can reduce poverty. Poverty will not be reduced by itself. We cannot allow our people to be paid $1,000. You go to Banjul, the dump site, you find the people who are working there, they don't have any protective gear. They don't have any clothing. They don't have any office there to take care of themselves. When they are sick, they take care of themselves, their health, and they are paid $1,100. And when they don't go to work, they are not paid. Honorable Speaker, we cannot call those people our workers. We must be serious to see that our people need support and give them the necessary support that is required to make this country to move forward. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Thank you.